Do, 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 do.
Did you just go into Mortal Kombat? Because I always go into Mortal Kombat, like the opening.
Oh, that would have been more on theme. I was just like doing straight Darude Sandstorm.
Oh, well, it's pretty close. All like house music.
So it's of the same era.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've introduced my kids into Sandstorm, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is what your being is. You with all this energy. This is like your soundtrack for who you are."
I just assume you have this running in your head at all times.
Yeah,
and that's the way you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, such a wild song. I find when I'm biking, like there's kind of like this, like, so I'm on the motorcycle, there's just this like constant hum, like, and all of a sudden it's like I'm like, so in my helmet I'm biking along just doing like Darude Sandstorm.
Ambulance sirens are behind you, but you're like,
sir, you should really pay attention to the road.
And then all of a sudden they're grooving. They're like, okay, forgiven.
Oh, you scamp, get out of here. Oh, see if I can get through this without too many coughs. Hey, when I click the mute button, do you hear the pop?
A little bit, like a click.
Yeah, because that's like when I'm, which I might have to hit that when I'm, if I'm coughing through this.
All the sand.
Oh, so much sand in my throat from the storm. What sandstorm? And you just start playing it. Oh, Dad,
I live in my head forever now. It's just like after the show, that's all it is. Sandstorm.
You enjoy that, sir. Man, if levels could figure themselves out, that'd be sweet. All right,
we'd figure that out. Some Sandstorm.
Just sing some Sandstorm to get the right levels. All right, let's hit it. Across the web, we are broadcasting out. We are live. The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old that are very much not asleep at all.
That threat has been persistent in the last couple episodes. I'm waiting for it to pay off.
Daylight savings is not going to make that any better. So,
yeah. Well, one thing, Jeff, is it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas because Halloween's over. The stores don't have to pretend anymore that there's this, this battle between the two seasons. They can just throw it all away. It's nothing but Christmas, folks, because we've survived Halloween's. Congratulations, dads. Hope you all had a good time out there. Did you have a good candy fest there, sir?
Yeah. So this year was a little bit different. Again, I have a 14-year-old now. So the 14-year-old took out the 11-year-old.
Man, taking over the chaperone duties.
Yeah. So
what was that like?
It was a little bit terrifying.
It was a bit much, perhaps.
Yeah, like I'm glad that the 14-year-old has a cell phone on them, so if any issues, whatever, they can call us. Whether or not they pick up the phone when we call, different story.
Absolutely.
But it was very different. They went out with their own friends that, again, my youngest knows, so there was more of them. The ratio was good, right? And so, yeah, it was a little bit scary just with the amount of like, this is your responsibility. So you both need to come back in one piece with candy.
With a lot of candy.
That's the objective. Please, please pass the mission. Treat it like a video game, right? A little side quest. Like not too many side quests, but you need to get home safely. Main mission.
Listen, times are tough. We're going to need this candy for a few months.
Yeah.
Stretch out the budget. So, how did you take that though? Because that's fairly momentous in so much as, I don't know, like dressing the kids up, going up, seeing them like with exuberance, jumping between houses and like collecting the candy. Like that was always a great joy. I actually did spend it. I was the candy giver last year. I got to go with the kids. So this year my wife went instead. So, but still just the same, like the whole event is, I think a dad sort of shines and really sort of enjoys it. Right. So was it met with sadness? Was it met with like, oh, thank God I don't have to go out? Like, where did you guys like land for this big change?
Yeah, I was so incredibly upset. No, I wasn't. I was so thankful Like, I honestly lived at the front door, so I was never a
Mm,
candy giver. I'd always go out, like you said, like I was just the one that
mhm.
would go around with them. But this time handing out the candy, I just sat by the door with my Steam Deck.
Oh, wow, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not. And play my Steam Deck because it's only like 2 hours before things kind of give up. So did that, handed out candy. I was having a blast.
Oh, that's amazing.
Less screaming, right? The screaming would just be at the door and that would be it, but like less of my kids screaming and everybody else screaming
Okay.
and the chaos and trying to keep track of everybody. So
Did you have an adult beverage?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't hand out adult beverages, but I did have one handy.
And a Miller Lite for you and a
Yeah,
Budweiser Light for you.
exactly.
Don't
Bring in
worry,
the
parents, it's
parents.
light. It's okay. Okay, because that means we had the exact same Halloween experience.
Yeah.
Because I had
Awesome.
because I had my iPad and I was playing Balatro, and I had my beverage, and I was just like sitting at that door ready to go. So it
Perfect.
rang up, and I'd walk up, grab the bowl, like, you guys look great. This is amazing. One for you, one for me. Go back to the pier in the game, just living the best dad life. That was fantastic. I am so happy to hear you did the same.
Yeah, like did your wife come home with the exhaustion of like I remember coming home like, "Oh my God, I just need to sit down. I need to lie down. I
Yes.
need darkness. I just
Yeah,
need
she
the
was
brain."
she was tired because those kids were going. My kids hustled, and that kind of brought me to the next point where I don't know if it's like the when your inner child dies or what how exactly to phrase this because I remember as a kid, like I was a multi-bagger kid, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you fill one up, drop it off at home, get the next bag, keep going, and then that would
Right.
last you a long time.
Yeah.
But now seeing the quantity of candy my kids have, like they came home and they poured it out all on the living room floor, and I'm just staring at this. It's like this is a problem. Like this isn't right. Like we can't handle this. Like this is too much. like you can't eat this much, and I can't donate it because it's garbage. like it's sugar and corn syrup and coloring. I can't give it any away. So it's
Yeah.
going to be in the garbage. And if I do, you're going to hate me. It's like, this is just, this is a massive pile of problems for me now. I, which is almost sad because as a kid, it's like jackpot. This is the greatest thing in the world. And
Yeah.
now I'm just staring at these mountains like, this, God damn it, all you other parents. Like, why were you
Yeah.
giving them so much?
I
That,
mean,
yeah,
I
how you feeling
had
about it? Like their hauls, like when they come home with those bags, you're just like joy. You get to like crank this for the next like 4 months.
yeah, before like they had, smaller smaller mouths, smaller just appetites, and now it's just like this candy that they brought home wasn't the biggest of hauls, and they will
Hmm.
be gone before Christmas, which usually it would last well into the new year.
Hmm.
Because we'd sprinkle it like, oh, okay, you get like a piece of candy like every other lunch for school or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it would just kind of continue, and I would be sick of it by the end of staring at the stupid bowl from Halloween that's up after New Year's. But I think this one will go quickly for us, and a lot of the stuff that was handed out was quite different. So
Oh,
not only candy,
interesting.
but like we got Tim Hortons cappuccino coffee, like
Like bags.
packets. Yeah,
Okay, I was waiting for that part because otherwise, if someone just
like
dumps a
liquid.
cappuccino, like that's psychotic behavior, and you should leave
No,
your
no, no.
neighborhood.
This is
Okay,
make it your own. Like, here's the
okay,
package. Just go make your own.
that's like that's a what's a wink and a nod to the parents. That's pretty nice. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, they
It's-
didn't know what to do with it though. They thought it was hot chocolate. I'm like, no.
There was the one house in our neighborhood. I don't. I fall on the side of like it's cool because look, we're all adults. We're all having fun here. Wink and a nudge. Just be cool. They had an adult station. I only saw a
Yeah.
photo because I wasn't
Okay.
going around, but it was like coffee, some sort of treats more for adults, and then Bailey's.
Oh,
So the parents could walk up to this bar sitting beside this Halloween house, and you're like, the responsible response to this is to say like, oh, alcohol and kids, da da da. The cool response is like, that's great. Thanks for doing this. Like, this is a dumb tradition, anyways. It's a lot of fun, so like, let's just roll into it.
yeah. Well, you'd want to support the person and be like, oh,
Yeah,
make
yeah,
you feel good and participate. Like, I wouldn't mind a cup.
yeah. I'll take a sniffler here. They
Right.
gotta keep warm on this cold Hallows Eve.
As you're unscrewing your thermos, is like, actually, like,
I've already
just
got
pour
my
it in
own.
here.
No one ever checks your coffee cup, buddy.
They do not.
So, hey, gaming dads, if you have thoughts on trick-or-treating, candy, or had a particular story to share, reach out to us at New Dad Gaming or newdadgaming.com. Now, you took in a bunch of candy and you've gotten rid of another addictive type
Yeah.
of thing from your household with the removal of PS Plus, which I was fairly interested to hear about. What's the story here with your house?
Yeah, I have been a PS Plus member for since the introduction of it, which I think was way back on the PS3, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And so just with recent price increases, like it just keeps going up and up and up. And then I have less and less time to game and actually use the services. So I said, this time I am not going to renew. And it just so happens like it's on my birthdays because when
Happy birthday to me, less things.
right, everybody would always get me like a renewal on my birthday, and that's just when the end date is, right? So since July, I have not had PS Plus, and you know what? I really thought I would miss it. Thought I would miss the free games and some of the early access stuff, and even the online components to it. But
And access to games that you previously got through PS
yeah,
Plus, right? Because I
yeah, they
remember I
all
seem to
have
recall
a
you could claim but as soon as you don't subscribe, those are
correct.
gone.
Yeah, they have a nice little padlock symbol next to it, like you have it in your library, but you can't play it until you resubscribe. They make it known. So yeah, no, I haven't really been affected too much by it. All those games that I did claim, I haven't really gone back to. I think it's actually good for you to kind of cleanse any of the choice that you didn't really need to have. Like it's great that they're there. I'm not knocking anybody that subscribes to the service, but it was a lot of choice and a lot just with all the other systems I have. Again, I mentioned Steam Deck, we have the Switch,
Yeah.
all the other gaming systems that I have kind of going. This one just kind of fell by the wayside, and you know what? I'm good with it. I'm good with it for now. Let's see what happens if there's a specific PS5 exclusive that comes out that requires PS Plus, because I'm sure that'll happen, of course, right? Like, oh yeah, you need to do this in order
Yeah.
to get online. But no,
How did your kids take it? Because I don't know. My kids, not fully embracing it, they have enjoyed an ability to have access to a big library and have got into some pretty cool titles because of it. Rubber Bandits, which initially came from it.
right?
There was Humans Fall Flat, which is part of it. The Goat Simulator. They got into Aliens. You remember the Alien game back in the
Oh
PS3
yeah,
days?
yeah,
Destroy All
yeah.
Humans or something.
Right.
They discovered that, which is like that's perfect because it's like just silly nonsense. So they've just because of the service they discovered, I would think they would miss it more than myself. Although I'm a bigger proponent of game streaming on many devices, but would be
Right.
curious, like, yeah, how did your kids react to the lack of PS Plus?
Honestly, it did not. It did not phase
Didn't
them.
notice.
Did not notice. I'm sure that they still haven't noticed. To be honest, it's just not something that they're really into looking at. All the games that we did play that we found through the service, like Human Fall Flat, I did buy at one point. So I do have those little gems kind of floating around, but they haven't really noticed otherwise anything else. And they don't really play anything on the PlayStation that requires the online portion, even, right? So they can't even get online. All their friends are not on PlayStation, right?
Oh,
They're not
okay.
even on Xbox. They're just on laptops. So
Right.
that's where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. So man, I think I've been off since I got I think when I went with Xbox, got off of it. And as you said, like they had the really annoying, like, oh, there's all these games you'd have back if you just resubscribed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
never enough really to pull it on. I'm curious what the push and pull will be of it in future as price goes up, gaming time goes down. It's like, don't you want access to like 4,000 games? It's like, man, not really. Like, I don't got time for like many of these. Like, what am I supposed to do with that many?
Yeah, I know. I kind of like did some reflection on it. I'm like, am I old? Is this how it happens?
Yeah,
Do I
it's
not think this is good value for my money? Like,
it's too much candy. It's too many games. You got to get to sleep. It's like
that's right.
we are
Yeah.
becoming old. Now, it
Oh,
did have unrelated was that your kid, as I understand it, went back to PS4 and seems that they had a hard time adjusting to holding up my fingers for audio listeners, legacy
mm,
systems like PS4. What? How did it come about, and what happened when they were playing that old system?
Yeah, so my 14-year-old, not through their own choice.
Not compelled by their own decision.
No, I had to go back to PS4 as the system to choose because they, had some things going on in high school that we weren't really proud of, they weren't really proud of. So in order to sort that out, we gave the laptop a break. So down
Mm,
goes Steam, that's on pause. The only other system in the house that's really like in the basement side of things, because the PS5's up with on the main floor, is the PS4. And they had to they had to
had to.
use that as their punishment to
Mm,
access anything like YouTube, old games and stuff. And that's really the most that my PS4 library has seen in terms of action is my 14-year-old accessing these old games that I completely forgot about. And they're going through the library and I get like the notifications on the app on my phone.
mhm.
So I see them downloading like Trackmania and like I think Crashers and like
Oh,
all these
good
old
choice.
games. And they
That's great.
I could hear the sighing though, Trevor. It was just like,
Mm.
"Oh," right?
When it wasn't online, when the load wasn't immediate as soon as it comes
No,
up.
no.
Have you dipped into PS4 and noticed something in going backwards to it that perhaps you wouldn't expect, that you take for granted now that you're on like a PS5?
I have access to the PS4 and just even the home menu, just even trying to get into, let's say, YouTube,
Hmm.
and access media through that way, it is so incredibly slow. And it's not even just the software, it's just like it's got the old hard drive in it, right? It's not SSD, so like it's not snappier. And again, limited
Mm,
gaming time. I want my thing snappy, and not to mention
yeah.
the noises. I can't stand the noise. It grates on me. It is like an airplane now. I'm not sure how long it's gonna last, but it is loud, and I don't like that. PS5 whisper quiet. I'm sure the Xbox and stuff is whisper quiet. Dad likes his peace. I think that's
Like
part of convenience, part of what the PS5 can offer.
likes his speed, likes his peace. I'm
Yes,
a
that's
simple
all.
man, just wanting simple gaming victories.
It's a peaceful life, right? Like,
it's a it's a simple life. Yeah, I wonder, like, my kids have found some joy, and I think I don't know if I believe yours did as well. So with for instance, like the retro, getting them into
yeah.
some of the retro consoles. So either actual like analog or in the digital version with various titles like uh, it feels like they can hop between various systems a bit easier.
Mm,
I do think, like, for instance, like the PS3 though, there'd be something about going to like an SNES or an NES, like
yeah.
quicker, snappier, kind of interesting ones. Titles are colorful and fun, and like that was like an interesting time in gaming. I think a kid could mess with that and enjoy it. I think like PS2, Xbox 360, PS3 would be kind of hard because that was a really weird, it was very
Yeah.
difficult kind of what would you call it, like teenager phase in the gaming world. Like those systems were impressive, but they weren't. This will be what I want to say is those systems like were great for the time, but they're just ultimately in the echelons of history not that good. Like they were
Mm.
kind of weird systems. You know what I mean? Like the PS3 especially, I think, was this weird version of it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
360, I have some desire for it. And they'll give you this, like, defend it though, if I'm like way off base. I just
No, I
the
like
jump back from PS5 to PS3 would be wild, basically, is what I'm trying to get to.
yes, it would be wild. I think I still have the body of the PS3 that died underneath the TV, and it's so incredibly heavy. But the
It
kids
still
have
makes that sound from time to time.
no, the PS2 still works. I still have that one. And I think you're right. I think if the kids went back to that kind of era, one, you have to change discs. So they're not used to even that, right? So they'd have to go. I do have PS2 library behind me that they would have to go and fish out the discs if they're going to do it that way.
Hmm.
My 11-year-old has actually plugged in the SNES Classic and played through all those games and
Oh
had a
yeah.
blast. So much to your point, right? Where they just kind of
Hmm.
like tool around, everything's colorful and kind of cool. PS2,
And
PS3
snappy
is
and
like,
like no
yeah,
loading, like everything goes. There's something about like a PS2 load, or your disc corrupts, or it's just like
oh yeah, yeah.
it was
You
an
watch it
awkward time.
spin.
Yeah.
It was an awkward time, and they were just introducing things like network and internet and stuff, and it's just yeah,
Yeah.
teenage
However,
phase. I like that teenage phase.
yeah, the PS4 though, I think that holds up. The PS4 is still
It
a great
does.
system. But for someone who has only ever known the bright lights of Roblox on PC or PS5, it would probably be why am I downgrading? Why do I have to do this?
Yeah. Yes. And again, my 14-year-old had to download these games and had to sit there and wait for the ticking of the loading because the PS4 didn't really have good like Wi-Fi signal. Like I have an Ethernet. But it doesn't read it on the hard drive fast enough, much like their laptop SSD. Steam's very good at like parsing that kind of information and optimizing it. PS4, no.
Not so
And you
much.
can't do anything else. If you go online, it pauses it. So like even that multitasking, it's like, nope. Can't do it.
So another good transition, I think, almost as a PSA for gaming dads, as we start to, as I sung at the beginning of our podcast, as we do start to get into Christmas, as Christmas comes around the corner, or also just if like you have not upgraded from a PS4, what I found interesting, I was curious if you've kind of noticed the same thing, is that it feels like we've kind of reached the other side of PS5 costs. So when it first came out, terrible availability. I think it was pandemic, right, as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the prices were like ludicrous, like it through the roof, like multiple thousands of dollars. You couldn't find one to save your life. Like now, the thing that I noticed, what started to pop up in my feed, is I'm seeing PS5s, even like the disc version, for 400 or 450, which is a much more appealing, and that's without tax. This is just a private sale. So that starts to become a much more appealing for a family that's looking to bring the console into their house. So I'm wondering if, like, why do you think this is? Had you noticed kind of the same thing? Like, what is with this PS5 fire sales going on? That's such a great timing.
Yeah, part of it I think is the Pro launches pretty soon, so people might be trying to get rid of them before the market is flooded and get their money's worth. Again, another part is just everybody. I think the availability of it not so hard anymore. You could walk into just a big box store and grab it, but I do think that even in terms of gaming, a lot of the gaming that goes on these next gen systems are third party. So if you have a console of choice or Steam available, you might be just going to that instead of looking at a high-end console. And then now people are kind of trying to get rid of them, maybe it's just collecting dust. I don't know.
Yeah, I had seen that a few times. Like on it's like, oh, I'm not really using it anymore. So I just wanted to get rid of it while I could. Man, even a PS5 Slim for $600.
Like those are pretty good prices when you consider that Nintendo Switch hasn't budged on their price, which is $399.
That's like amazing.
Right?
Oh, it never will. They never
It
will.
never will. All the way up to Switch 2. It'll probably go up in price. So like,
well, probably like Switch 2 will probably be $499, and then the original Switch will be $3. What a deal! You get $100
exactly
if you want the old version.
Yeah,
but it started to come across my feed. It seems like you've confirmed that you're seeing it as well. So if anything, that's just kind of a PSA for the dads out there.
Yeah,
where starting to see it come down, and it's a great time because again, like Christmas around the corner, you can kind of like keep your eyes open for one of those deals, sneak it into the house, play it a whole bunch, update it, get it ready to go.
Yeah, make sure it works and stuff. Yeah,
make sure it works for a solid month before Christmas shows up.
Exactly. Yep.
And then be the hero. So I want to put that out there. Now, for myself, for a how I might play a PS5 should I ever get one would be as a direct pass through to my new Quest 3.
Look at you and your VR.
Back in VR, baby. We were some of the first. We were doing PSVR. I had mine on launch day, PSVR. And I do not regret it. Like, it wasn't, I used the heck out of it. Like, I really enjoyed that console. One of my favorite, more like actually gaming dad moments was my in-laws were visiting from another country, and we were all just kind of chilling in the basement. But I was having a gaming session, and the TV they didn't want to. They were watching TV, so everybody was just like kind of conk out on the screens for the night because we'd all been exhausted. Kids were finally asleep.
Yeah,
but they were watching TV. So what I did was like I had my PS5, and I was just playing Destiny, just playing like Destiny 2, which I was into at that time. And just even having the ability to have the flat screen of it, be in the same room, like we're all kind of chatting, like it was just fantastic moment. I loved it. I loved that PSVR.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
again, I will vouch for it. It was a good system. You were my gateway into that.
yeah.
Uh, and my father-in-law, who is actually in a wheelchair, was able to experience some games through
Hmm.
VR where he doesn't have that mobility anymore, right? And could actually, do some of the more scenic stuff. So it does
Hmm.
have its uses for even just, accessibility and people that want to explore the world and they can't. So
Yeah.
I am all for it. I am so happy that I got a Quest 3. Not that I'm jealous. Who says I'm jealous? It might sound like I'm jealous, kind of jealous.
Oh, I can see about a Gaming Dad discount on a Quest 2. That's going to be
Yeah,
collecting
that's
cost as
right.
well. So I had upgrade to the Quest 2, and that was like stunning just because coming from the problem with the PSVR was the crazy amount of setup. You had to have the camera, you had to have like the special USB-A charging move sticks,
Yeah, ridiculous.
huge headset which had its own little box which had a plug. Like it was crazy. It was a lot to
Yeah.
set up. And the Quest, you just strap it to your face and away you go. Like it was just such a fantastic experience. This is not it's not like going from like flat screen to VR for the first time as far as like going from 2 to 3. So
Mm,
it's not this generational shift of it. However, like they've continued to refine it. The pass through is fantastic. So when you're looking through it on the Quest 2, it was black and white grainy. But
oh,
at
okay.
Quest 3, like you can actually like look at your phone and like see notifications and stuff, like it's color pass through. Like
Oh,
you could easily walk around your house. On the Quest 2, you had to kind of draw the boundary because the system wasn't smart. Quest 3's got these sensors. So it looks at your room. It's like, hey, here's all your stuff. Careful.
oh, wow.
And then more importantly, so what I started off the thing with is it has, and actually the Quest 2, to be fair, the Quest 2 got this as well, which is really cool. I was really happy they brought it back to the previous system. But you can get a USB video capture card and basically plug in an HDMI cable into your Quest. So if
Okay.
you so with the Switch, with a PC, with PS5, Xbox, whatever, you can just shove it into your headset and then proceed to have the 100-foot screen in front of you in a theater and be playing like that game, like real time.
Just
So
plug in, right?
oh man,
And the privacy of it too, right? Like you can just like go off and do your Destiny 2 or be out in space and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm out here. Thanks.
That, so it is fantastic. I'll say I know my kids so badly want to play it. I've let
Mm,
them had like touches of it. How do I like I not give them a taste, right? So I put them like on a roller coaster, let them see something, but
yeah.
they feel very much too young to be
Mm,
having like the screens like literally on their eyes. And I think they warn it's like you're not supposed to do it till they're 16 anyways.
yeah.
So which most parents break, to be honest. There's a game.
I
I don't
broke it.
no, that's fine. I'm not talking about like a touch. I'm talking about like full-time gaming. Have
Oh,
you
yeah,
heard
yeah.
of Gorilla Tag, the game?
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah. My 14-year-old all into it. That's what
Okay.
all birthday
But
parties are about.
but in VR or like on the
Yeah,
system?
in VR.
Okay, so that's the thing, right? So like they say, don't let your 12, 14, whatever, like 15-year-old like be in VR, but you go into a game like you go into a game like Gorilla Tag, it is nothing but very tiny little squeaky voices
Yep.
saying some asinine stuff.
Totally. That's probably my kid.
Just- I think you've raised them better not to say things like this, but
No, no,
like,
yeah, no.
but as
But
far as being perhaps like a bit more boisterous than perhaps the adult crowd would like.
yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's just the thing. Again, you can control it within your own household, but I found a lot of my teenagers friends already have Quest 2s and
Mm,
3s just in their bedroom. Like they just have it. And then birthday
wow.
parties are in like VR
Huh.
warehouses and like 8 people get together and go nuts, which is
Seriously?
cool. Yeah,
So,
I want to
so
be invited.
that's really hold on. Like talk about this for a second. So you're saying that like the uptake of VR in younger like call it like 12 plus is actually quite high. Like
I
many of them
would say
have
it
it.
was. Yes. Yes. And I probably live in an area where, these kids can like afford it themselves, so they've bought it, right?
Oh,
My kid doesn't
okay.
have it, mainly because like we're it's a little too much for me for them to handle. But yeah, their friends would have multiple systems because there are usually multiple siblings in a house, and they would all have VR together. And then even again, like their birthdays, they would set like a VR company and they would go and do that. That's the thing. Gorilla Tag was a huge hit. That's one of the things that always comes to mind is Gorilla Tag and something else that was like a bunch of mini games. I can't think of it though.
Oh, Rec Room.
Yes,
Rec Room.
thank you. You read my mind.
Oh yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
I've played that one, and again, it's that same thing where it's generally it's pretty cool as far as like people just storing around playing paintball or something. But every now and then, it's especially with open mics, it's like, oh, you guys are all
Yeah. Yes.
12. I don't like being here.
I'm uncomfortable. Thank you. I'm gonna leave. Yeah, no, again, that's all the rage for the kids. That and again, this is aside from Roblox, but yeah.
Now, have your kids asked for VR headsets?
Yes, they have.
Okay. So
They have.
I'm just curious. Like, I want VR to succeed. I really like VR. Like, I really appreciate it. I've bought now 3 headsets, right? So clearly, it's something that I appreciate and enjoy. I would say from my adult friends. Well, sorry, that's to say like I have kid friends. From my friends, like there are very few that have it and use it.
Yeah.
So what I'm finding fascinating though is it seems like there's like a higher uptick in usage with younger people.
Yeah, again, I would agree. Both my kids wanted VR. They were planning to split it, which is a terrible idea because I did that with my brother, splitting the console, and I have all the consoles here at my house, and he has none. So I know how that works out. But yes, they are very much into VR. They want to be in VR, and like as a kid, I couldn't imagine, just again being in that world is pretty immersive, and with a kid mind, like holy crap. Everything is around me. This is awesome. I, as a gaming dad, though, to get them off their laptops and like both of them had ADHD, so they get like hyper focused and they're like in there. And if you don't pull them off, they're not eating supper, right? So to have them in VR, it's just like a little much for them until they kind of get this other skill set to pull themselves off. So
yeah, it is pretty intense. I'd be curious about the effect on nightmares and such. We'll have a pretty direct correlation between some. If we watch a movie or a scene and it happens to have something scary, my oldest will tend to have like nightmares that night.
Yeah,
like, it's pretty direct. It's like you'll see we'll get something, didn't realize there's a particular scene in it, and then it comes up. You're like, damn. All right,
yeah, there it is. Yeah.
But then you think about VR and how visceral it is. Like how it's not just that a zombie's on screen. It's like a zombie is attacking you, like going for your throat in real 3D space. I'd be curious to see like if there's the extra effects on a young mind as they try to navigate that.
Yeah. Again, I haven't heard anything from my 14-year-old in terms of that kind of experience because they have played like kind of like the House of the Dead kind of zombie shooter in VR. And like that stuff, and they don't care, whatever. My youngest has nightmares about climate change, so I don't think like
it's a small thing. So it's either like killer clowns or the decimation of the world's ecosystems. Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Right. So like they could playing anything, and they're afraid of climate change. But yeah, my 14-year-old just raves about VR. My 11-year-old doesn't care too much, but would like to try, even though they've had little experience with PSVR. But yeah, I think the uptake is more around kids, and maybe that's where the market sits a little bit to see.
Well, it works for me because it just means that it's something that's going to remain. Like if the market continues to grow, people keep investing in it. Like every quarter, they love to break out the figure of how much money Meta/Facebook has lost on Oculus.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, please stop losing money. I like this thing. I want it to survive. So maybe the kids are the future, Jeff.
They very well could be. We'll meet them in like some sort of virtual world, and like that's how we'll communicate at college, or when they go away, be like, "Hey, kids, meet me in Sim World."
Let's do VR chat. We're gonna do trick or treating in VR chat. I don't want to walk around.
There you go. Maybe that's what everyone was doing. So
All right, everybody. We're wrapping up there for the week. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you like the show, what really helps out is if you hop over to any of the podcasting networks, Google, Spotify, Google Caster, iTunes, anywhere you find podcasts, and look for New Dad Gaming and subscribe. Beyond that, if you can leave a rating and a comment, that really helps boost the show. And Jeff and I would really appreciate that. If you'd like to reach out to us, if you have any thoughts on the show, way too much candy. Are you still a subscriber of PS Plus? Are you planning to get a used PS5 for Christmas coming up? Or are you on VR and we can meet up for a virtual beer online?
Yeah.
All these things and more, we'd love to hear from you. Hearing from gaming dads is one of the best parts of the show. So reach out to us at New Dad Gaming or newdadgaming.com. Once again, thanks for listening, everybody. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old who are still not in bed.
Just put on the VR headset. Just go to a different reality.
There you go. Perfect.
Forget this reality.
Yeah.
Remember, everybody, just because you became a dad
does not mean it's game over.
All right. We'll see you next week.
See you later.